interested. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have attention, please. All quiet, please. Thank you. Go ahead, take your notes out. We're going to be continuing with our study of Russia and how Russia ends up being an authoritarian regime for many, many, many years, and getting into some of the details there and looking at one of the worst examples of government in the 20th century, and that is the Soviet regime.
I just have to say, I watched the Animal Farm yesterday, and I thought it was terrible.
You watched it already?
Yeah, it's really.
Okay, you watched the whole thing? That's a long movie. Which one did you watch? Did you watch the animated version?
No, I watched the real one, but it was
The real one? Well, what's the real one?
like,
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I'm going to have you guys watch. Fine. Well, let me teach it first. Okay. Okay. Fine. No, we're not going to watch it in here, but you're going to have to watch it outside. So if you've already done it, then that's taken care of. I'll make you watch everything. Okay. So here we go. Shh, ladies, gentlemen. Ladies, gentlemen, Trey. Trey. Shh. 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 Okay. So, continuing on. Yeah. Let's get to it. Oh, I'm going to pass this back first. Forms of government test. We got everyone here having taken that. There is a makeup opportunity to get, I'll figure that one out. I'm going to come up with like a paragraph or something you guys can write, paragraph or two that you can write in order to pick up 2 additional points. Because in the past I would give people an opportunity to retake like pretty much the same test. And then they would have, they can get up to 10% more. Some of you guys aced it. Some of you guys came, a little bit short here and there and so forth. But I'll post that. I'll tell you about that. And we'll give you some time to get that one in. Okay? Otherwise, this particular unit, by the time we get to the end of it, it's a much bigger test, 65 points for the test on this particular unit. Okay? So, when I hand this back, this is how it works. You keep the little one, the score sheet, that's got your score on it and so forth, and then I'll get the top part back. I will collect that back from you. Just by way, this will go pretty quick because the matching, you can see what you got right or wrong there. With respect to the answers on the thing, indirect democracy, also known as a republic. Government, form of government with a few people ruling absolutely, and an example is noble rule, so don't write down noble rule. That would have been a oligarchy, very good. And then the government power divided among national, state, and local. It's not unitary, it's federal. Yeah, much of you guys got that one right. And then the one where he said government authority is exercised when laws are made, budgets are established, oversight is practiced. Give you 3 choices: legislative, executive, judicial. Most of you guys got that right. It was legislative, yeah. Okay. So let me hand these back to you, and then I will collect this part, the top part, the bigger part, and then we'll get started on the notes. There you go. So you keep the bottom part. It's not so bad. Not so bad. Okay, you always want to make sure you're coming in. There's Anna's. Okay. Be nice. It's flat? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You need to work harder. Just kidding. Yeah, no, that's usually a swing state. Oh my gosh, disappointed. Just kidding. I'm going to get something different because I have to have something that's a little closer to my face. So they gave me this thing, but it's got like a plasticky, foamy thing on it, which makes my head sweat like a pig, and I don't like that. So I put this thing on it so that it doesn't sweat as much, although it still does. What? Yeah, it's like a wipey thing for like my glasses and computer screens and things like that. What? No, I use that a lot during the day because when I talk, I'm like, whoa, that was in my breath. Nasty. Good thing you guys aren't sitting close. So I have to clean it on a pretty regular basis. Okay, there's that, there's that. Let me come around and collect it from you. And then we'll get to Vladimir. Okay, so I'll take this part. Thank you. That was federalism or federal system. Okay? Yeah, I need that part. Yes, thank you. I didn't give you yours back?
But it might be in the green pile. Let's get on a green bed.
That's weird.
Giving you so many. Let me give this to you as I'm passing by.
Wait, what?
Yes, it is in the other one. Let me look.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
No, you did not.
You did take it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Megan, did you take it? Yes. Are you here?
Yes. Are you serious? Yeah, because I tried to you right after I left class. That's true. I'll run everyone. What? I said, yeah, that's true. Because my dad picked me up during passing period.
It's not the quiz, it's the test. I'll look for it. Because I gave you a grade for it. Right? It's in Power School. You guys just stick to blue or green. Good grief. My gosh. No, it's okay. Let me see. You know what, Megan? I don't have you having taken that.
Isn't it the forms of government test?
Yes.
It was on Thursday. You took it on Thursday. Yeah. No. When did you take it? So you took it on Monday. Not Thursday. You took it on Monday.
Okay.
Because you went to school on Monday and you were supposed to.
You slipped through my fingers.
Dude, what did you get?
What do you think? No, she hasn't done it yet. Yeah, no, she didn't.
Can I text you right
No, I know. No, you didn't do it.
Well, I'll redo it.
I don't know how that. Okay, you guys sit. Sit. Social distance. Can you do better? Work. You can do it. You did this test. I don't know where it went.
I did it on Monday with the rest of the greens. And then I was supposed to.
You know what? You know what I'm going to do? We'll do something. Okay? I'll figure it out. It's really a challenge to keep track of all the different classes and then all the people at home and then all the different moving and things like that. And no. I'm pretty good, very good actually, at keeping track of all those different moving parts.
I like confusing people.
Yes. Yeah. Nope. Don't have it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Shh. With more people, I need to have your full cooperation and so forth. With fewer people, maybe it doesn't matter as much if one person sort of chimes in because then we can do like, and when little things pop up like we've got a missing test sort of thing like that and so forth, it does, yeah, I'll be working on that. We'll have it taken care of. Probably what I'll do actually is I'll give you the alternative assignment because the at-home peeps, I can't have them actually do a test. Because, it's like, no, it's serious. Last year at the, last year at the beginning of the, the quarantine part, I was having tests, and it was government class, and I had them do the test. And, there was all kinds of things technologically that were messed up and so forth with it, but the ultimate factor is it was not an accurate reading of what they had learned. It was an accurate reading of what many of them had from other fellow students in the form of like this massive cheating thing, which is like, that's not a good way of assessing to figure out like how people can do it. And it's almost impossible to make a cheat-proof at-home test. Because even if somebody's like looking at the screen, they could still have like, you know, their phone and getting messages or looking at some other kind of information, or even on a split screen. So that's why you guys will do my quizzes and tests and so forth. And then I do have actually an alternative thing for the at-home students, okay? Because, yeah. And so hopefully that'll all work out. All right, so you ready? Let's do this. We got 4 weeks coming on Tuesday until the presidential election and other elections, so keep an eye on how that plays out. Some of you guys, we already discussed the presidential debate. There's 2 more. If you have something to say, please raise your hand. Again, I've got like almost like 30% more people in here than I had before. And it was a bit disappointing. They've got 2 more scheduled. There's some debate, or excuse me, discussion, I should say, not debate. Discussion among the Republican, Democrat, as far as like giving somebody, the moderator, an opportunity to hit the mute button, like to turn off the mic button, if that ends up being a problem. But, you know, some people are like, you can't turn off the mic of the president or the former vice president. I'm like, well, the alternative is trying to listen to them all talking over each other, which is very, very difficult and kind of frustrating. So, yes. Thank you for having your hand up.
You think the debate, or you think Donald Trump has a good chance of getting voted again for what he said?
I don't know. I think a lot of people have made their minds up already. There are still some undecided voters, and then there's some voters that want to support one or the other, but it's like how motivated are they actually to get to the polls? That's one thing that people measure, is how motivated the various different supporters are. So they do things to help motivate their supporters to make sure that they get there. I would say just, and you guys are going to have an opportunity, didn't we already talk about this, extra credit? Oh, wow, you didn't. Oh, so your extra credit opportunity is, hang on just a sec, your extra credit opportunity is going to be accomplished within the next 4 weeks or so, and that is predicting the outcome of the 51 races for president. You're like, there's only one race for president, the United States of America. No, in fact, there's a race in Iowa, there's a race in Idaho, there's a race in California, and for most of those states, whoever wins in that state gets all of the electoral votes of that state. So for example, let me just check and see, hands down for a sec, let me just check and see. Oh, that was gravity, good grief. Wow, whew, gonna have to call out the police. No, I don't think so. How many of you guys think that Joe Biden, raised by show of hands, how many of you guys think Joe Biden will win in Idaho? You think he's going to win in Idaho? I think your hand is up for a different reason. How many of you guys think Joe Biden's going to win in California? Okay, so probably Trump. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty easy one to predict. Probably Trump will get Idaho's 4 electoral votes. Probably Biden will get, like California's, 55 electoral votes or 56, something like that. Some of the closer ones, and this is where you get extra credit points by doing the research and predicting. It's not who you want, but it's like who you think is going to. And somebody's already chimed in with some latest polling data from a swing state like Iowa. Florida is another big swing state. How many guys think Joe Biden is going to win in Florida? How many guys think Donald Trump is going to win in Florida? Okay. Last time, Trump won in Florida. 4 years before that, Barack Obama won in Florida over Romney. 4 years before that, Barack Obama won in Florida over John McCain. Florida is a very big, important swing state. You guys do the research. I want to say it was 4 years ago, maybe it was 8 years ago. I had an exchange student from the Netherlands, got every single state right. Now, you guys should be able to get, with basic research, 30 to 35 states correct easy. Because those are not the swing states. Those are the ones that's like, yeah, Trump's going to get that, and yeah, Biden's going to get that. But the really tricky ones are going to be like, Pennsylvania, Iowa, Michigan, Florida, Wisconsin. And if one of those candidates gets a bunch of those, they'll probably win. Raise your hand if you think overall, at this point, with just over 4 weeks to go, Trump is going to win. Raise your hand if you think overall Biden is going to win. How many of you guys are like, you just don't know? If you do the research and you get a little bit closer, Biden is leading in the polls right now. But I'm asking you to make the prediction, ultimately, of what the outcome is going to be on November I want to say it's the 3rd. Yeah. Okay? So that little extra credit assignment is going to be due like right before the election itself. Okay? Take a quick question. Yep. I'm going to give you a map. And it'll also have the names of all the states. And you're basically going to like check. Or you can color. You could go like, I don't know, what color are you going to use for like the Trump states? Whatever, orange, yeah, or red, or whatever. I mean, typically it's like blue and red, but as long as you clearly indicate in your key which color is what, and then actually you're going to be like marking down which one's going to go which and so forth. So that's the rubric. And I'll have sort of like, the most extra credit points go to somebody who like cleans the slate. Or most students actually, I think the last time around, because the polls are, they're not too far off, most of the students came in with maybe just 5 or 6 or 7 wrong, so, within that. So that's pretty good. And you can get that from basic research. Okay? Here, then there. Did you still have something, Ava? No? Okay. Until the election day. So I don't know if the election day is a blue day or a green day, but basically you'll want to turn it in either that Tuesday or the Monday of that week.
What would happen if, like, Joe Biden or Donald Trump, this is going down the list, but, like, got assassinated right before the election?
Actually, shh. There's a lot of questions that pop up, and sometimes I'm just going to have to plow through. I'll answer it very quickly. The Republican Party, the Democrat Party have named the nominees and so forth at this point. It hasn't actually happened in history that we've had a presidential candidate like win in November and then die before they were actually sworn into office. So that would be a new thing. My answer would probably be this. You ready? Probably it would be their vice presidential running mate that the party would say gets to step in as the,
Before they get elected. Like, there's just the final two, but one of them.
here's the answer to that question. Okay? So Biden or Trump died today. The party that nominated them would quickly get together and they would make a decision as to who the new nominee would be. My guess is it would be whoever was the vice presidential one because we don't have a lot of time on that. But I mean, just to give you an example of, it's not completely absurd. Once upon a time, I want to say in the state of Missouri, there was a Senate race, and this guy was running, and he died, and his name was still on the ballot. I mean, he died, I want to say, literally within a week or two of the election, and they didn't have enough time to, get the ballots changed. The Democrats decided that his wife would be the one who got the position if she got the guy got the most votes, the dead guy, right? So let me tell you this. It was interesting because the dead guy was actually on the route to winning, but then of course he can't win because he's dead. So on the day of the election, the guy who was running, and he was actually the senator at the time, and he was running against the dead guy. Well, now it's the dead guy's wife. He lost to a dead guy. Which always kind of seems strange to me because in order to be eligible to run on the ballot, you have to be, at least, for the Senate, you have to be at least 30 years old. Well, you have to be, alive. But anyway, so things like that happen. All right. Questions, comments? Okay, let's go. We got to go. Come on, JT. Quickly. We will get to that scenario.
Man, you're stealing my question.
We will get to that later. Can you hold off on that for a little bit? The quick answer is, if it ties, it goes to the House of Representatives. And that hasn't happened since 1824.
Okay, this is an email. My dad emailed me, and he asked what happened when whoever, sorry, yeah.
What is this, like a show or something? We got call-in viewers or something? What the heck? Good grief. No, it's okay. Go ahead.
When he asked what happens if you get sworn into office and then vice versa, if you're runner-up, you sworn into office.
Yep. Yep. So on the day, let me give you a very specific example. William Henry Harrison, president number 9. Okay, he was elected to office. Some of you guys remember him. He was the one of the generals who actually had some victories in the War of 1812. Usually we lost to the Canadians and British, but he actually had some victories. He was elected president, gave a speech. Now, on the day that he was sworn in as president, inaugurated, his vice president was inaugurated at the same time. That was John Tyler, number 10. This guy gave a speech, caught pneumonia, died within about a month or so. So his vice president then took over for him. They swear them in same day. President and vice president. What? Okay. It's like fake, trying to. Okay, here we go. Vladimir, first leader of Kievan Rus. Okay? First leader of Kievan Rus. This is his territory. Starts out fairly small, ends up being pretty sizable. Pretty sizable. That's kind of your basic original Russian territory. And as we talked about before, it actually overlaps and includes what is now the country of Ukraine. Okay? So that's the original Russian territory with Vladimir. This picture reminds us, in this picture we look and you're like, he looks like a holy saint or something like that. He is, he's got like a halo, he's got his crown, he's holding up a Christian cross, and this is actually the Orthodox cross. It's the Orthodox cross. Jana, why did he convert to Orthodox Christianity? A couple of reasons. What was one of the main reasons? Did he get married? Yes, okay. Rulers like to get married so that they can have the next generation of the rulers. He got married. Raise your hand if you remember. I think I did this with you guys. Raise your hand if you... Really? No? Okay, well, make sure I do this. In the handout that I gave you, which you should have in front of you, wonderful that some of you guys do that, because as you're doing the notes, it's going to help you a great deal, because then you'll be able to spell Byzantine. JT, do you see Byzantine right there? Bullet point number 2. Right? Bullet point number 2, Byzantine Empire. Do you see that? All right? Vladimir marries the sister of the Byzantine emperor. Now, you can't really tell by this map. Some of you guys may remember this if you were in my 9th grade class. The Byzantine Empire was like the old Roman Empire, and that was pretty much sort of like what is now modern-day Turkey. Its capital city was Constantinople, right here. So this is an area, an empire that is just south of Russia. And Vladimir wants to have a good alliance with the Byzantine Empire. So he does two things. One, he gets permission to marry the sister of the Byzantine emperor. So now we got kind of like a close relationship there. Hang on. And one of the things that he needs to do before he marries the sister, because he was going to choose a new religion anyway, is he chooses a new religion, not just for him, but for his entire country. And he chooses Orthodox Christianity. You can put that in your notes. He's the one who chose Orthodox Christianity, and you can see what year he chose it. What year did he choose Orthodox Christianity? It's in my handout. Yes, JT? 988. Yep, exactly. And he did it. I mean, I feel like I taught this to you guys last time. No? Really? We didn't get that? Oh. Okay. All right. Because I remember Trey talking about how they were, wasn't it? You said that they were like descendants of the Vikings?
Well, they landed there and named it the rest.
Yes. Okay. Because I remember that part because you contributed on that aspect. So obviously we didn't get through the whole thing. He actually conducted like a contest. I don't know, an interview process. That's probably better. He conducted an interview process on what should the religion for the Russians be, because the old religion was literally the old religion. It was almost like Slavic or Norse, with Thor and all the different Norse gods and so forth. And he's like, yeah, that's not going to work anymore. That's the old style religion, even though a lot of the Russian people themselves are like, hey, I don't know, I like that religion. He's like, I need a new, modern, powerful, cool religion. He looked at Catholic as a religion option. He's like, that's what they do over in Western Europe, but I'm going to pass on that. He liked the Islamic religion because he likes big power, and Islam was associated with some really big, powerful countries in the Middle East at that time, but he didn't like the fact that one of the rules of Islam was no alcoholic beverages. He didn't like that part because the Russians like to drink their vodka. And so he's like, forget that. He looked at the Jewish religion, which had been around for a long time, but the one thing that didn't impress him was that there was no big Jewish empires in existence at that time. So he was like, forget it. Orthodox Christianity was the one he went with. Big, associated with the Byzantine Church, or the Byzantine Empire, and he wanted to have a close, positive relationship, like an alliance, with the Byzantine Empire. And he ended up doing that. He sealed the alliance by marrying, do you have that in your notes? He married the sister of the Byzantine emperor. Good. Vladimir. Yes. And he was tough. Let me finish it out. And he's like, now that I found Orthodox Christianity, everyone in Russia will be Orthodox Christian. I mean, what? Is he going to like send people around and try and persuade them to like follow the particular belief system? No, he says, time for everyone to be baptized. So they would organize these massive baptisms of the people. Write that down. In Russia, as in a lot of countries, like absolute monarchies at that time, that was not unusual. You had one religion for the people. Not everyone, but a lot of them did it that way. And that way, so he would say, God supports me on the throne, and that is what our religion is, and that's it. So good luck trying to be a minority religion in Russia. By the way, when we get to modern Russia and the communists are in charge, what's their religion? Exactly, it's like anti-religion. Good luck trying to be religious in a country that is anti-religious. We'll cover that as well when we get to that part of the story. When the communists are in charge, like artwork like that is going to be destroyed or packed away. Churches are going to be destroyed. Although there is one church they didn't destroy. Some of you guys can see it from, like I can see it quite clearly from where I'm at. And I'll tell you the story about St. Basil's Cathedral. You can't quite see it there. I'll have the screen up there. But it's the most beautiful church in the city of Moscow. Big, beautiful cathedral. And they turned that into a museum during the time of the communists. Okay? I mean, it was built as an Orthodox church, but when the communists are in charge in most of the 20th century, it's going to be a museum. At least it's going to get torn down. So, when I traveled there in 1985, I could take pictures of it. You can still take pictures of it, and so forth. By the way, now, if you go to it, what is it? Because the communists aren't in charge anymore, it's a church again. So, yeah. Anyway, all right, so, you had a question, comment?
I did, but I'm not sure it's fine.
Okay, quickly.
Okay, fine. It's very small and it's completely unrelated, but
That's what I figured, but go ahead.
I don't mean to sound like a know-it-all, but Thor in Nordic is actually pronounced Thor.
Tjor. I will grant you that. Tjor. And what is the day of the week that is named for Tjor? Tjor's Day. Thursday, yeah. Actually, yeah, I mean, that's where it comes from. Yeah, no, that's good. What about Sunday? Named after the sun. What about Saturday? Was it Monday? Freya, yeah, that's another Norse one, too. So, like, yeah, we get some days of the week from some of that Norse, which is really cool. All right, continuing. So everything's cool. Essentially what we've got here is Russia 1.0. I mean, literally, if you want to, like, it helps you remember, this is Russia 1.0. This is the original Russia. We call it Kievan Rus. It's happening. I mean, it's got a lot of territory, got a lot of people. Now, you did write down that they're a little bit slower than some of the other Europeans in the sense that their development, their creation as a state was later than some of the others. But that's okay, right? I mean, some of you guys are younger or older than each other, right? Just because of the way you're born, and you're all lumped in together in, like, whatever grade, level, and so forth you are. So you can catch up to somebody who's a little bit older than you. I don't know, if you were held back 2 or 3 or 4 years, could you catch up to the other students as they enter into, like, whatever grade level? You're like, it's like, how many of you guys are ready for college right now? I don't think so. If we plucked you up, really, maybe if we're like, I want to be independent, but if we plucked you up out of your seat right now and dropped you into college, would you be ready for that? Yeah. If we plucked Russia up at different times in their history and they have to compete against their neighbors, would they be ready for it? We're going to find out the answer sometimes is no. Sometimes it's yes. And sometimes it's no. Okay? Are they going to be ready for the Mongols in the 1200s?
Yes.
No. Write it down. Here come the Mongols. Next bullet point. Okay? Actually, it's on the same bullet point. It's near the end of the bullet point. Yep. The Mongols invaded. Some of you guys remember from early 9th grade. That was so long ago. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was one of the first things we talked about was the Mongol invasion. It's one of those very big things that happen in history that impact a lot of different things, right? Some of you guys remember, oh, well, when the Mongols established this massive empire, that was good for people who like to trade, right? Because it's like, oh, wow, now we can trade all across the Mongol Empire and so forth. And then, yeah, we can buy all kinds of things from China at ridiculously decent prices all the way over there in Europe. And when the Mongol Empire went away, bad for the traders, and then they have to find new trade routes, and they bump into the Americas. And you're like, whoa, that was fast. But let's talk about the Mongol Empire with respect to Russia. Write this down. Bad news for Russia. Very bad news for Russia. If in your mind you can kind of overlap the two maps that I showed you, now it takes a little bit of practice here, right? So here we have the Mongol Empire, right? So, excuse me, the Kievan, Russian state, just kind of north of the Black Sea. Let's see, let's take a look now of the map of the, oh, here we go. There's the Black Sea. Yeah, what happened to the Russian territory? It got taken over, exactly, right. I mean, that's the basic gist. Write it down. They got taken over. They got taken over. Now, this was after Vladimir. I mean, Vladimir got it started, but were subsequent rulers able to handle the national security challenge and keep foreign invaders out? No. No. They had a special name for the foreign invaders. They called them the Tartars. Translation? Men from hell. No, seriously, write that down. In Russian, Tartar translates men from hell. And if you know anything about the Mongols, you're like, yeah, that fits. What? No, I knew that before Ivan came along. Yeah, your classmate you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, because his family is from that area. I want to say, and he's listening, he's going, no, Mr. Hanson, I said that. I want to say that his family, he's got like heritage and so forth from that Ukrainian and Russian area. I think I'm right on that. Okay? Which is all very, very close. Okay? Yeah, we're going to talk about, I mean, Ivan and Vladimir are very, very common names. Ivan in Russian is basically sort of synonymous with John in English. So if I were in Russia, I would be Ivan. You're like, yeah, he's terrible. But actually, terrible, when we get to Ivan, terrible doesn't actually mean, oh, he sucks, he doesn't know what he's doing. It means he conveys terror and power. But wait for Ivan. So we have to back it up. Yes? Men from hell. H-E double hockey sticks. Okay? I mean, that's what it looks like. Okay? If you don't want to say, the hell word. Yes. All right, next. So, when the Mongols took over, write this down. When the Mongols took over, who was in charge of the Russian territory? The Mongols. And actually, if you look up just above the Mongol area, there was some Russian territory that was not directly under the Mongols, but they paid money to the Mongols. Let's see if I can explain this in a way that you would understand. Have you ever seen the movie A Bug's Life? Raise your hand if you've seen the movie A Bug's Life. JT, you've seen the movie? You've seen the movie The Bug's Life? Who are the bad guys in The Bug's Life? The grasshoppers. Who are the nice ones in The Bug's Life? Everyone else, yeah. It's like, and the ants especially. So what would happen every year, Eve, in the movie Bug's Life with respect to the grasshoppers and the ants? Go ahead.
The grasshoppers would, the ants would stockpile food for grasshoppers.
And then the grasshoppers would come by when?
I don't know.
Like once a year, okay. And what would happen if the grasshoppers didn't get what they were expecting?
They killed them.
They'd kill them, they crush them. So write this down, all right? No, seriously, you're like, Okay, was he going to have me write down like ants and grasshoppers? No. Mongols would come by every year and collect tribute. They would come by every year. Now, there were some Mongols living amongst the Russians, but I mean, the Mongols, bless you, they're pretty widespread out. They got a lot of empire to cover. But they're like, hey, we conquered it, and we want the resources from that area. So the Russians who were living there, the ants from the movie, they would be under obligation to collect up the resources and give a portion. I mean, obviously they needed some to live on, but they would give a portion to the Mongols. That's called tribute. Write that down, tribute. And it works quite clearly. If you don't pay the tribute, expect that the Mongols will come and thump you and take what they're going to take anyway, and kill a whole bunch of people in the process. So if you know that the Mongols are coming again to collect tribute, you organize and you pay that tribute. And if you don't, then you better have something planned very well, because if you're going to go up against the Mongols, you better be prepared, because you know when they're coming, you know what they're expecting, and you know what they have been able to do against you in the past. Got it? Got it? Does that make sense? All right. Do the Russians like being bossed around by the Mongols? Of course not. No, they don't. Are the Russians going to start preparing for a day when they will revolt against the Mongols? Yes, they will. Write that down. Are the Mongols ever going to get to a point where the fear factor of the Mongols is going to dissipate some because they just can't bring it as well anymore? Yes. So, eventually, you will have the Russians defeat the Mongols and kick back the Mongols. And the Russian rulers that do that are going to base out of a new city. And it's north of Kiev. It's called Moscow. I've got it right over there. And Moscow will be probably the most important city for Russia as we go on. It's the capital city today. Occasionally they're going to, well, we'll tell the story about how they moved the capital city up north, a place called St. Petersburg. We'll tell that a little bit later. Yes?
How would the Mongols know that they're giving, like, the Russians are giving them all the resources they want?
I think they base it like on like historical records. I mean, they're going to look and see like how much there is. They look at the fields and they can see what's planted, and they're going to like do some calculations and go, okay, based on the number of people and the number of fields and so forth, this is what you have to hand over, right? And so, I mean, after a while, it's like, this is what you handed over a year ago, and we expect the same amount this year and this year. And so sometimes you're like, oh, we had a bad harvest. And they're like, you look like you're feeding yourself pretty well. So, I mean, that's it. That's kind of how they would do that, okay? Might seem a little bit arbitrary. You know, they don't have computers and calculators, but they had some means of figuring out what they were expecting to get, okay? And that relationship, I mean, they wanted it to go on and on and on and on and on. You don't have to put it in your notes, but there will be like 2 East Asian countries that are going to be in that kind of relationship for about 1,000 years. China and Korea. China was the one that took Korea's lunch money like every year, made them tribute, but at least Korea could be semi-independent and develop as a separate country, and actually China would protect them from other invaders and yada, yada, yada. But this is going to be over. This is going to be over. By the time you get to, I want to say like in the, I don't have it written down specifically here, but the one that you probably are going to be seeing that's going to play a critical role in building up Moscow from there on out is going to be this guy right here, Ivan the Terrible. He's not the first one to rebel against the Mongols, but I want to put him down, write him down in your notes. He is going to be a very significant early ruler of Moscow, and let's just go ahead and call it Russia. Or you can call it Russia 2.0, okay? The return of the Russians, or the return of the Jedi, whatever, okay? What do they have to do? They have to organize, and they have to beat back the Mongols. And this guy is going to fit into the pattern of very tough, ruthless Russian leaders. Ivan the Terrible. It's not Ivan who sucks really at his job. No, it's Ivan who conveys a sense of terror in his people. Write that down. And I've got the dates for you on that one as well. That's the third bullet point we're on. The Tsar. Ivan the Terrible. Tsar, actually, anybody know what Tsar is? What would be like the Roman word for Tsar? Emperor or Caesar? Yeah, Caesar. Very good. So for Russia, it's Tsar. And actually, I've got it spelled two different ways. I see it spelled that way in English. If you look at the Russian Cyrillic alphabet, you're like, all the letters are kind of different. I've got some posters here in Russian, and they do have a different alphabet. And so, like, if you look and you're like, H? No, H has a nya kind of sound to it. And anyway, it's all different kinds of sounds and so forth. So when you take a word like Tsar and you try to put it into the English language, there's still, I see it as Tsar and Czar. Either way, it's Tsar. It's Ivan the Terrible. He's tough. He's powerful. And he is a very autocratic ruler. Okay? All right. Let me tell you something about Ivan the Terrible. Ivan the Terrible, let's see. Yeah, do I have a map for him? Not so much. Yeah. Ivan the Terrible will, let's see, here's a, yeah. Moscow is sort of like right in here. And it's going to recapture pretty much all this area, and then, put this down, he's going to move the country east. He's going to expand the country east. Ivan the Terrible is going to expand the country east. You know, the Mongols are pushed back, but there's other groups of people in there that he sees as a threat, and he sees as a threat as well as an opportunity. If he beats them back, he can take their land. One group of people are called the Kazans. I'll have to spell that for you because I didn't write it in my thing. K-A-Z-A-N-S, Kazans. There's tribes of Kazans, and they're just to the east. And they have been like pestering the Russians after they kick back the Mongols. They're like, oh my gosh, these guys are such a threat. It's a national security threat. What's he going to do with a national security threat? He's going to be ruthless, and he's going to come in there, and he's going to organize the army, and he's going to like boom, 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 and he thumps them. You got that? The guy doesn't mess around. I mean, and he was like not the best person to have as your dad. Because like the son, who was going to be like the next Tsar, Ivan was like, you lousy, and he killed him. Yeah, I mean, he did. He just got so mad when it was like he killed him, and he felt bad, and then he was like, you know, if anyone looked around and was like, seemed to be opposing, he'd kill him. There's no freedom developing there. He's terrible. Here's what he would do to the Kazan leaders. You ready? He defeated them in war, and he like had their heads cut off. And then to say, this is a victory to the glory of God and the Russian people, and to epitomize and memorialize that Russian victory, we built cathedral. Write it down. This is called St. Basil's Cathedral, and it was built during the time of Ivan the Terrible. Isn't that beautiful? Doesn't it look like you see that at a theme park and you're like, ooh, that would be really yummy if it were like all candy or ice cream or something like that? Let me tell you about truth. First, easy thing. Onion domes, they're really good in that part of the country because, as a roof, the snow falls off. Very good. You guys knew that. Very good. But what else is going on here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's another one, 7. Oh, wait, 7. 7 Kazan leaders. 7 heads. These are reminders of heads of defeated Kazan leaders. So, when you look at this, you're like, pretty beautiful thing and so forth, but it was also, he chose 7 for a particular reason, because he wanted everyone to know that he is the defeater. He is the national security powerful leader. Not a nice guy, but did he solve the national security legitimacy problem? He did. How did he do it? Ruthlessly. Ruthlessly. Okay? He sent these people, write this down, Cossacks. Cossacks. These are people, Russians, that he would send out to the east, to the new territories that that were going to be part of Russia. Let me tell you about these guys. They're fighters and they're pioneers with weapons. And they would help the Russian expansion. Cossacks are like settlers with an attitude. I'll throw this out to you. Is there anything synonymous in the history of the United States of America where we send out settlers with an attitude and the ability to fight? That's not quite what I'm looking at, but it does. This would be, do we send out like cowboys? That's what I was thinking of, for example. Or, the United States Army going out into the West to say, hey, you guys live there? Similar thing happening in Russia. You send out your people, they're tough, they're ferocious, They settle. You don't want to mess with them. They got the czar on his side. Good. Question. Wipe your tables. If you need to use the restroom, use the restroom. Don't wait. Don't make your next teacher late. I'm just throwing that out here. So, so yeah.